Welcome to Social Work Sunday Tea. I am Shakia Houston. It's a great day to be alive and well. It is September 26, 2021. Hey, it's Sunday, and you know what it is, Social Work Sunday Tea. Today we have a special guest. If you would like to introduce yourself, I'm already stumbling already. To the podcast, make sure everybody tune in, make sure everybody subscribe, make sure you share. It's an important topic and it definitely needs to be discussed. We have a special guest again. If you'd like to introduce yourself, it's greatly appreciated.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so I am Maya B. Galap. I'm an LPC licensed professional counselor here in the state of Louisiana. Been practicing since 2016, and I'm the owner of my own private practice, Gold Digging Therapy, and that's Gold Goal.
Cool. So what made you get into this field?
I get that question a lot, and I wish I had like this elaborate, like fun story to tell, but I really don't. My story is that when I was an undergrad, I wanted to be an orthodontist. I don't know
Okay.
why, but that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So part of my electives, because you get to choose your electives, I took a psychology class. And what I'm telling you, it was the second, like just an intro psych class. The second class, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Walked over to the College of Science, changed my major as a freshman, and just never looked back.
Wow.
And so, after getting my psychology undergrad degree, for those who don't know, it ain't too much you could do with a psych degree, a bachelor's degree in psych. It ain't too much you could do with it. So I knew grad school was always the plan.
Yeah.
The school I was at has one of like the top ranked counseling programs. And I said, why not just, stay where I'm at and got my master's in counseling. I've worked in a couple different areas. So I've done K through 12. I have done higher ed, like college age, which is my absolute favorite. Um, I've done private practice as well, where in my private practice, the client or population focus that I have are young Black adults who are entrepreneurs, professionals just out there in the corporate world.
Okay.
Because that population we face, and I say we because I'm part of that world myself, face, some pretty unique issues. You're a young adult, so you're still kind of really coming into your own, figuring yourself out, all these
Right.
personal things going on. But then it's like real life slaps you in the face, like I like to say. You get out of school and now you are working, you're paying bills, you're doing all this stuff, you're living on your own, you're trying to figure it out, relationships, getting
Yeah.
married, having kids. So it is a highly stressful time of life. And it's
Yeah.
probably one of the best times or best points in your life to see a therapist if you don't already. So I
Yeah.
absolutely love working with that population. So
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And look, it's needed. It's definitely needed, especially in a time like this,
oh
and
yeah.
times like these. It's definitely needed. And I always stress it enough like, hey, it's okay to see a therapist. It's okay to check in with yourself, and have somebody to help you along the way, this journey. Because I mean, it's life can,
Mhm.
like you said, slap you and twist you and turn you upside down and get all your money and everything else. It can definitely do that to you. But today's topic, I'm so glad that you said yes to be a part of this discussion, because I seen on your Instagram post you talked about, in the Black community, and what better way to talk about us, you know um and talk about suicide. If you can, like, so the topic is suicide in the Black community, and it's so important because we don't talk about this. It's a really taboo subject. We do have people in our community, our race, that do commit suicide. If you can just give a brief definition, and on what is suicide, and also like some of the warning signs, kind of like mix it all into one, so everybody can get a better understanding of this thing.
Yeah. So, in part of making suicide less taboo, making it something that more people talk about, there's starting to be like a shift in the language.
Yeah.
So a lot of the literature and stuff I look at now is straying away from the phrase commit suicide.
Yeah.
Because when you think about when you hear the word commit, what do you think of? Usually you think of somebody who commits a crime, right? And so
Yeah.
in making suicide, like it's not, we don't want to think of it as like, oh, it's something bad. We're equating it with somebody like breaking the law, right? It's
Absolutely.
just a person had gotten to a place where they felt like they couldn't do anything else and they just needed to get out. And
Yeah.
so, the language now that we use is maybe like somebody going through with suicide,
Yeah.
somebody uh, doing or going through with the act of suicide rather than saying like somebody committed suicide,
Yeah.
or just simply saying someone died by suicide.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, suicide is just the act of someone taking their own life.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, what are some of the signs?
Hmm.
You know, in the Black community, we always say, we're strong. We have this face like, oh, and be smiling,
Hmm.
helping everybody. Then the next minute, then
Hmm.
this happens. So, what are some of the signs of suicide?
Right. When I can actually think back to the time where I was first personally affected by a
Okay.
suicide. I was actually in undergrad. And I
Okay.
went to like a pretty small school. So especially, and it was a PWI. So most
Okay.
of the black people, we all, we knew each other, right?
Y'all was close knit. Yeah.
Yeah. And a young man actually died by suicide. He was maybe like a year or two older than me. And I just, I wasn't a close friend of his, but I just remember how it was such a shock to everyone,
Yeah.
because what you kept hearing was like, well, he seemed okay. Like nobody saw this coming. And that's what you hear a
Yeah.
lot when
Yeah.
people do go ahead and go through it with a suicide. And I think what makes it so shocking, especially in the black community, is kind of what you said. It's like we feel like we have to put on this act, we have to put on this happy face of like always being strong and, oh, I could bounce back from anything, which nothing is wrong with that, right? And I have like a whole, like, shameless plug, but I have a whole TED talk on that about how, resilience isn't always the answer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
by no means am I
Absolutely.
saying like you get into a dark space to stay there. By no means am I saying that.
Yeah.
But there are resources. There are people out there that can help you. Um, and there's no shame in that. There's no shame in saying like I am not okay. I need some help.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in the black community, sometimes we shame people for that, right? We feel like
Yeah.
ain't nothing wrong with you, girl. Like you keep going. You a man. You need to be strong. And what
Mm-hmm.
about your kids? What about your job? And we don't allow people the space to be vulnerable. So
Yeah.
then when people
Yeah.
they get to this dark space and they feel like I can't even talk about it, I have
Yeah.
no other option but to get out of it.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the questions. Why do you think that our culture don't talk about suicide? Because of, they don't have a safe space
Hmm.
to be able to, be vulnerable, because everybody wants to be vulnerable, right? They want to be heard. They want to be listened to. And I think that more importantly, people's, so we're just caught up in a culture where, oh, okay, you, like you said, you'll be fine. Like, even the older people, let's talk about them real quick.
Hmm.
Oh, back in my day, we used to do this, and we got through it, and all this, I'm not saying it's crap, but it's a different time, it's a
Hmm.
different age. And some, our I would say our immune system, our body, our frame is not built like that,
Hmm.
and that wasn't really a healthy way, because back then, all suck it up and keep going.
Right.
No, you're strong. No,
Right.
that's not healthy. And I think, just like you said, being vulnerable, being transparent, being open, like, hey, I'm having these thoughts and I got a lot going on. I need somebody to listen to me, things like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why, people don't talk about it, because you're shamed. Oh, something wrong with you, for one, all and passing judgment. And
Hmm.
also, not that safety net. And also, you know, we're in a society now, oh, mental health, mental health. but it's still, it's still like on that step to even getting to see somebody,
Right.
and you're feeling guilty, you're feeling shame because you're having these thoughts, and you're neglecting the fact that you're human. Like it's okay. It's okay to feel what you feel, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, what are you going to do about those feelings? Because feelings, they last. They're not permanent.
Right. Right.
So I think more so, what are some other reasons why we don't talk about suicide in the Black community or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you covered a lot of them, right? So if
Yeah,
we think about one generation removed from us, just our parents, like I can speak personally. Now, I am a licensed therapist. I have been uh had an undergrad degree in psychology, right? My parents are well aware of this. And
yeah,
they're proud of me, they love what I do, but I still struggle to have conversations with them about
yeah,
certain topics like depression and stuff like that. And
yeah,
telling them like, hey, you might have anxiety, like you might want to go see somebody, mama, like
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah,
just one
definitely.
generation removed of like this mindset of like nothing wrong with you, like we just dealt with stuff back in my day. And I think another part of it is other generations. um and I think we are, when I say we, I say like millennials and especially Gen Z. Like I love Gen Z, like because they just out here and they don't care. Like
At
they
all.
don't care. They like middle finger to whatever y'all think is.
Yep,
We're not doing this. And so
yep,
part of that is
absolutely.
capitalism, right? That being like so ingrained in earlier generations. And I think
Yeah,
we are just starting to realize like this is not normal. Like, why should I have to give 40 hours of my life to a job that's
yeah,
not even satisfying me? I just need to pay
yep.
some bills. And then I'm still struggling to pay the bills after the
Listen,
40 hours. Now I'm really
yeah,
working like 80 hours because I got all these high hustles and stuff because I'm trying to pay the bills. And
yeah,
I think that's definitely a factor that contributes to those feelings that might lead somebody to be like, I just can't do this anymore. Like it's too much.
yeah,
But I can probably speak for a lot of people trying to have that conversation of like, oh, hey, mom and dad, like, this ain't it. Like, I think I'm gonna quit my job. Well, what's wrong with you? Like,
yeah,
that's just what you're supposed to do. Like, you just need to get it together, get over
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's definitely part of it as well.
yeah, definitely. You touched on, yeah, heavy. Like, what was good for the goose is good for the
Mm,
gander. I just think that, it's just like you said, it's a different time, it's a different era of people, and I think that we need to be understanding and be a little bit more gentle. Like I
mm.
even with my parents, like, oh, you'll be okay. I'm just like, I'm okay. It's okay to say I'm not okay. I'm not good, and I
And
think,
you said it though, like just being more gentle, more understanding, more
yeah,
compassionate. And I guess this
yeah,
is like jumping ahead a little bit, but
yeah,
I was having, and I talked to you about this a little earlier. So I was having a conversation with someone on yesterday
yeah,
who is not just someone who's just not very understanding of the topic of mental health and how things work, just not
yeah,
educated on it. And this person was like, well, what could be so bad in someone's life, or what would make them do that? And it's just, and he also asked like, well, what I'm supposed to say if somebody tell me, oh, I'm gonna kill myself, like what I'm supposed to say? And I mean, you can just tell something as simple as like, don't do it. Do you need to talk to somebody? Or even if
yeah,
somebody's not telling you, I want to kill myself, but if they're telling you like, you know, I I just been struggling lately, like I just got all, and they're kind of dumping on you.
yeah,
That person is, they're just looking for like some help. Really,
yeah,
that's all it is. It's like you've gotten to this place where you're like, I can't hold it in anymore. I need to say
yeah,
something. And I'm a trained professional, but not everyone is. So like, even
yeah,
if you have a friend who's confiding in you,
yeah,
just be a friend and say like, I can't fix your problem, I can't make it go away, but I mean, I'm here for you. Like, I'll just listen, and I understand that sounds hard, because sometimes that's all a person needs,
that's all.
to be able to speak freely, and have somebody just be compassionate about it and just be like, oh, I'm here.
Yeah, Definitely. I think more so, I know in the, just dealing with people that have mental illness, right? And they have suicidal ideations, and what
Mm-hmm.
that is, the thought, your thoughts of um, killing yourself or harming yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideations. And I know in my field, we have to do a whole assessment. We got to do one-on-ones. We got to make sure if a person have a plan or not. Okay, well, we got to do this safety plan. It's like a whole formality. But some of the people, like just outside of that realm, when I see like social media posts, I'm like on alert, like when I some of the things, like when they talk about, they focus on death. They talk about death a lot. They post pictures of knives and pills and all type of things, and saying goodbye. Like I actually seen somebody do that on social media, and I got in the inbox and like, hey, what's going on? What you doing? Like I'm watching you, because it's consistent. They talk about all types of. They become more withdrawn. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they have mood swings. They drink a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they take, they pop pills. They do not marijuana, but they do the all drugs are bad, but they doing the hard stuff like heroin, cocaine, and you can see like the rapid um spiral that's going
Mm-hmm.
down, and it's kind of like we're seeing warning signs, but to the average person that's not even thinking about that, like, oh, they I don't know what's wrong with them, they just going through, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just going in and asking them, hey, do you need help? Or you just let them, and sometimes people just don't know what to do. So that's why we're having this conversation. Now, if you see somebody on a consistent basis and popping pills, and they talking about death, these are signs. These are warning signs. They're a bit withdrawn, they don't really want to communicate, they isolate themselves, things like that. And like I said, my experience, I saw that, and I definitely was in the inbox like, hey, what's going on with you?
Mm-hmm.
You need something? Hit me up. I gave him my number. I didn't know him from Adam, but I saw it, and I contacted family members. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
you need to watch them because it's not looking too good right now, and I think more so because I am in this field, I feel like I'm more accountable. Like, hey, let me pull your coattail, And a lot of people, they come to me and they, want to they open up, and I'm like, oh, okay, I really didn't, I didn't want to hear about it, but I was there to listen,
Right.
and I could have saved somebody's life, and
Right.
I saved somebody's life, and not even knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, my thing to tell everybody to listen sometimes. Don't be so much in a hurry to um want to get them out the way, or just say for instance, like, how do you feel about people saying that, do people threaten to, I guess, say, oh, I'm gonna kill myself? Do you feel as though sometimes, because some people think it's attention seeking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm gonna kill myself. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. How do you feel about that when people say, oh, they just trying to get attention?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like like the actual phrase, like "oh, I'm gonna kill myself." Like sometimes people, unfortunately, use it like lightly.
Yeah,
Um, like there was a situation, like I was at a school, and the teacher said something about like homework or something like that, and the eighth grader say, "oh, I'm gonna kill myself."
yeah,
So clearly in this particular situation, like that person wasn't actively suicidal,
right,
but
right,
that was more of like an attention seeking thing versus kind of like what the example you gave, where if I see somebody who's like posting pretty morbid things
yeah,
on social media and they're like, oh, goodbye, like I wouldn't take that as a joke.
yeah,
um
yeah,
and unfortunately, I think that's what happens sometimes. And
yeah,
even if you think that person is quote unquote seeking attention,
yeah,
they're seeking attention that's going to save their life is what they're
yeah,
doing. They're trying to get somebody to see, like
yeah,
they're wanting somebody to say something that's going to
yeah,
stop them.
yeah,
Because I don't think what a lot of people don't realize is that most people who do attempt suicide, like they're not even sure about it,
yeah,
right? They're like there's not a lot of people who attempt suicide who are like absolutely like, yep, this is it, I'm ready, like I want to die.
Right.
People just
Right.
get into such a dark space, or such
Yeah.
a space of numbness is what you hear a
Yeah.
lot as well. Like people just get so numb to where they're
Yeah.
like, I don't feel anything, so what is the point of me being here? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's maybe like that numbness also can lead to like that self-harming, so like cutting, burning, like choking yourself to feel something, to
Yeah.
feel some kind of rush. And
Yeah.
unfortunately sometimes that goes too far and
Yeah.
it leads to suicide.
Yeah. Definitely. How has suicide affect, I guess, impact the Black community? What is your thoughts on that?
I mean, it impacts us just as much as anyone else.
Yeah.
I think the unfortunate part is that we don't take it and learn from it.
Yeah.
Like we'll see people die by suicide and we'll say like, oh, poor so and so, like I didn't even know, or I didn't even think anything was wrong, or how did this happen? When
Yeah.
the whole time like the person may have like left work, or
Yeah.
ghosted, or stopped answering text messages, probably went down that spiral that you talked about. And
Yeah.
we're all sitting up here boo-hooing talking about I didn't see it coming because you didn't try to see it. Like
Yeah.
this person was probably, there are probably a lot of signs there, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, we just ignore it because we're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's some white people stuff. Like we don't do
Yeah.
that.
Listen, that's definitely, like, I heard somebody, oh, Black folks, we don't commit suicide. I'm like, what? Yes, yes, we do.
Hmm.
And
You want to know a interesting statistic that actually shocked me?
yeah.
And this could lead to a whole nother conversation. So I'm gonna just say what I think it is and leave it
Okay.
at that. So I'm pretty sure we all know at this point that like COVID and lockdown, like that quarantine time where the world was like really shut down for a couple months,
Yeah.
it led to like a lot of self-reflection and introspection. And I think, we know like there was this rise in like mental health issues because
Yeah.
it made people slow down to
Yeah.
realize like, oh, I got a lot going on, like hold on, like I'm feeling some stuff. But during that time, since the pandemic, suicide rates for white people went down, and for
Mm.
Black people they went up.
Wow. Wow. Do you know the percentage of it?
I
As
don't
far as
have, yeah, I don't have numbers, but
okay.
I just know I could find them if I look for them, but I don't have
No, it's cool. It's cool.
the
Yeah.
numbers.
No,
um,
no, it has. It has. Now, was it more in men or more in adolescent? The
uh,
children
it actually is both.
is both.
Suicide rates for Black adolescents, like Black children under 18,
Yeah.
went up 71%
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
COVID. For Black men, they became 4 times more likely than they were pre-COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. I read that as well, and I was like, oh no, like, and we're not. It's not talked about. Like, you's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, next. That's how it is.
Yep.
Um, I think, man, that's, I think, one of the reasons. It's a lot of pressure.
Hmm.
Now we're in survival mode. It's more and more pressure. Then we're not gonna get into the racism
Hmm.
that plays that plays more into it as well. It's kind of like, it's like the Hunger Games. And I hate to describe it like that, but that's
It
what exactly
is.
what that
And
is. Um, we're fighting. We're fighting. It's too much to fight, and I can see from this perspective on this side as a mental health professional. I see why.
mhm.
It can be too much, especially if we don't have the resources. African Americans, we don't have the resources available to us, and then the insurance company, they don't take our insurance. So that's another
Yep.
blockage. So, oh, no, I'm not. We don't. They don't need the help. They
Mhm.
got it. And that's their mental. The mentality of some people. Of people who run the nation, who
Right.
run the world. Like, oh, they can do it. Oh, they're tough. Oh, they're stallions, and, well, I forgot what they called us back in the day, but they can handle it. If they can be outside 8 or 9, 10 hours, 12 hours in the sun picking cotton, and they keep that mindset, it's generational,
Hmm.
and they think that we can do that as well. But, like, the buck stop here. Like, no, you know, they need to get more insurance companies to be on board with, therapists, that they can be able to seek help and get that additional support. Um, yeah, definitely. Someone said, how should an individual seek for help as far
Mhm.
as therapy?
So for
Um,
just for
yeah,
therapy,
yeah, for
uh,
therapy.
so there are a lot of websites. The biggest one is Psychology Today.
Yeah,
Um, Psychology Today don't like black people, but it's the biggest platform, so we on
yeah,
there.
yeah,
There is therapy for black girls that you can
yeah,
do. Therapy for black men. Inclusive therapist is another one. Um, for on the topic of insurance, if you don't have insurance, therapists do some therapists, most therapists do is called sliding scale, which
yeah,
is they'll adjust your rate just based on your income and what you are able to pay.
yeah.
So you could just ask any therapist about that, but there's also a website specifically for people without insurance called Open Path. So OPENPATH Collective. And you can
Mhm.
find like low cost therapy on there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and I've hosted some therapists. If you're in Chicago,
Hmm.
some really really dope therapists, black therapists, um, that can be able to help you along the way. I came in contact with a lot of people, a lot of dope therapists, such as yourself, that can definitely help our
Yeah.
culture, our race. I think more so, and I'm gonna say this till I'm blue in the face. Another race can't talk to me about what I feel, what I go through on a consistent basis, because it doesn't match. Like, you can't tell me. One time, had a had a someone. Well, I had a white therapist, and I was just like looking like, there's
This
no connection.
ain't it. This ain't
No
it.
connection at all. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I'm going by my way. And I found a therapist. She's black and amazing, and
Mhm.
yeah, definitely. Like, I have a therapist because it's some stuff that I need to get off of, off of me, and everybody needs a therapist, and it's
Yep.
okay. I keep yelling and screaming, so I'm blue in the face. Like, hey, it's okay to have a therapist. It's
Mhm.
okay to talk to somebody that you're comfortable with, and you can reveal and have someone to help, navigate and strategize what you need to do next. And sometimes when you talk, you kind of answer your own questions. Um, and if anybody that's out here contemplating, as far as like thinking about having suicidal thoughts, inbox me, anybody that that
Mhm.
you feel as though that is a listening ear, and um, be able to listen and not pass judgment, and you know be a just be there, just be there, period. And I think that that's so important, right?
Mhm.
Then we wouldn't be, if someone does, um transition, or die of suicide, then we not going to be doing our wish it coulda wouldas.
Mhm.
When somebody come to you and say, hey, this is what I got going on, and sometimes when you can read between the lines. Someone said, I agree. I also think that another reason why black people don't go to therapy, we can't relate to the same experiences.
Mhm.
Yes, yes indeed. Yeah, can't relate at all. Just psh, I think uh,
Finding, and I had this conversation with somebody earlier, but I tell people this when I do my consultations with them. Finding the right therapist is like dating, because
yeah,
it's a relationship.
it
You're gonna
is.
be talking to this person about things that you may not have told anyone else. So just because you may have had a bad experience, like if you go on one bad date, are you gonna stop trying? Like, probably
Right.
not. You're probably gonna try again. So it's the same thing with therapy, and it can be difficult, because you get tired sometimes trying to shop around. But for anybody who you feel like you've tried therapy and it was just not a good match, or you didn't really feel comfortable with that person,
Yeah.
I say just try again. Just try again. Think of it like dating.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, hey, keep going. I definitely will be posting some therapists and different companies and things like that at wherever location. Make sure you put, your stuff, your information on there too. Definitely gonna have you on my page. If you're in Louisiana. Yeah, but no, it's definitely needed. And this topic, we can go on and on and on about the taboos and just different things. It has been celebrities that passed away due to harming themselves. What's the guy from Disney? Lee Thompson, I believe he was from Action Jackson. I
Hmm.
think that's who that was. Yeah, he committed suicide. Well, he as far as like by way of death,
Hmm.
suicide. Um, just never know. And I think more so, like I said earlier, be gentle with people. J- Just be
Right.
gentle.
Right.
Be kind. Be cool. It's a lot of like, oh, ain't nothing wrong with you. It's just too much that is in the air. And then even with our children, right? Um, just a lot going on. I have a 13-year-old, and we talk about suicide. We talk about these things because I want her to understand. Um, if you see that, or if you see it in some of your friends, that may feel as though they want to end it, um, just to be cool, have a conversation. And I think in this generation, um, and I had to catch myself too because I'm like, she was talking about something. I'm like, why are you being soft? What is this? What is this about? And I had to kind of like correct myself.
Hmm.
I just did it recently today. I was like, oh, okay, let me take a step back because um, I don't want to hurt her feelings or make her feel some type of way, and and things like that. And I think more so for this generation, a lot of anxiety and depression. Could we hit on that topic real quick?
Oh yeah.
As far as anxiety, depression, because what makes a person, want to harm themselves in that way, especially
Hmm.
for adolescents, right? For youth. Because in our mind, like you got the best life. You don't have any bills, you don't have any no responsibility. So why
Right.
are you depressed? Why are
Right.
you having anxiety about certain things? If we can just touch on that as well, as far as like, and depression and anxiety go together, as far as like people, um, you know, may have mental illnesses that that are not they're not aware of or not diagnosed.
Hmm.
As far as what that goes, and it leads into harming themselves and possibly death.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think I did all three all in one. But,
I
but
mean,
yeah, but like how
for
can
like youth and adolescent, right? It's kind of like what you say. A lot of times we're like, well, you don't have bills, like you ain't got all this, you ain't married, you ain't got stress. But one of the phrases I heard before that kind of stuck with me is that kids are not little adults; they're kids. So their whole worldview, their perspective, it's all different. Like they don't know anything about bills and relationships and like real life. They don't know that because they haven't been here. All they
yeah,
know is their life. So to them, somebody calling them fat or
yes,
making fun of them or leaving them, like not inviting them to the party, like that is the most hurtful thing. Like that's
yeah,
devastating for them
yeah,
because that's what's important to you in like elementary, middle school, right? Or
yeah,
high school, like the boy you like doesn't like you back, or a girl or whatever. And so we need to stop looking at it like, girl, that ain't that ain't no real problem, or you don't have no
yeah,
bills, and and stop minimizing it, because to them that is their world. Like
yeah,
that's what's important to them.
yeah,
um and unfortunately for a lot of them, it's like they may be struggling at school, they don't have anyone to talk to there, they may be like the outcast, right? And then they
yeah,
come home and they are treated poorly at home as well.
yeah,
So
definitely,
as a child, as a minor, like you don't have anywhere else to go. Like you can't leave and go out on your own. Like you have to go to school. Like it's a law for you to go to school. So let's think about, like, as adults, if we're at this job that's like stressing us out, we don't like our boss, we could get another job, and
yeah,
still have our bills paid. If
yeah,
they don't have parents who are willing to take them out of that environment, they
yeah,
are stuck there. Like imagine being like mentally, verbally, physically abused and traumatized every
yeah,
single, like 5 days out of the week for 8 hours. You're stuck there. So they, I mean, I feel like if anything, they have it harder than us because we could go home, we could go on our lunch break and kind of escape for a little bit, right? Or have like that mini vacation. They are stuck in that school building. So whatever it is that's like stressing them out or causing trauma to them or emotional distress is like they can't get away from it. And then, they may go home and have, a parent who is uh, an alcoholic or a
Yeah.
parent that's abusing them or something
Yeah.
like that. Or, they may just want to have a little quiet space to get away and do their homework. They can't even do that.
Yeah.
And so, that's why life is hard for kids and teens. Like their lives are hard for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Especially if you're in a dysfunctional environment, that plays a tremendous toll on you. Like, oh, it would get you to the place like, why am I even here? I don't even know what I feel.
Right.
Or, um, then they start, having behaviors, as far as like doing things that's abnormal, like leaving, not coming back, or,
See, and
cutting themselves.
kids, they may not, they don't, most of them do not have the language to
Yeah.
talk about what's happening to them. Like, think of a 5-year-old
Yeah.
who maybe like experiencing depression. They don't know that word. They can't verbalize what they're feeling. So
Yeah.
they may, have these behaviors and like disruptive behaviors in class, right? Because a 5-year-old should be able to sit still for 3 hours.
Right.
But okay. So we have the teachers who are getting mad because you have a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7, 8-year-old who can't sit still.
Right.
But that's the only way they can express themselves emotionally because they don't have the language and they don't
Right.
have a therapist or somebody to talk to or to hash things
Yeah.
out with.
Yeah, definitely. And in that situation, like, I just meet them where they are. Now I don't remember when I was 5 or 4. I can't think back, but just knowing that, you just never know what's going on. They could be sexually molested,
Mm-hmm.
or, and they don't know what to do, or how to feel, and they don't know what's right and what's wrong. And I think, as parents, listening to our children, especially if they're feeling some, they're in their feelings, especially in a teenage years, like, listen to them, like, well, what do you feel,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like, or if you see some changes, like, hey, I see some changes, you've been going, got going on, you want to talk about some, I'm always here, giving them that support. And also, even with adults, when you see some abnormal, like, you don't act like that. So, or coming out of frustration, because a lot of times frustration, and you just get this. I don't know. I be getting this feeling like, something ain't right. Let me
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and, um
Being irritable, that's a big one right there.
yes, it
Like,
is.
oh, everything getting on my nerves today. I'm so aggravated today. I don't know what's wrong. Like
Yeah,
that means you need to slow down and figure out what's wrong.
yeah, definitely. Um. Uh-oh. What was this? Oh, that was a big long one. I guess the LGBT. I get that all wrong. Sky high suicide caused by, I guess, yeah. What? I ain't got my glasses on, y'all. I'm sorry. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm not
definitely.
familiar with I think I know what they're getting at, like the hotel thing on social media, which I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah.
But I think what this person is getting at is like that culture is very homophobic.
Oh, okay.
That's definitely an extra added layer of like for the LGBT plus community.
Yeah.
Um yeah, just being faced with like these homophobic things, like not being able to feel comfortable being themselves. Like imagine like having to walk around feeling like you have to like mask yourself and hide yourself like 24/7. Like
Yeah.
who wants to live like that?
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't shock anyone when somebody who's experiencing that, dies by suicide because who wants to live a fake life
Yeah.
24/7?
Yeah, and that's where the judgmental people come into play. You can't be free. Like, I can't judge you. Because I know God gonna judge me. So it's like, if that's what you want to do, then do it, right? Be happy, be free. You know what I mean? That has nothing to do with my life. Your lifestyle has nothing to do with mine, and mine don't have to do anything to do with yours. And I don't know, understand why people are so fixated on that. And that causes rift, and confusion and chaos, because everybody's so homophobic, but they're, secretly they're probably gay. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Or, they're curious, sometimes. And so they want to shed light on this particular population, because they're curious, or they want to be a part of it, but then can't because of the image that they have
Mm-hmm.
on their end. And these are facts. These are facts. And I think more so, like, hey, let people be free. Like, I think more so, allowing people to be themselves. Um, Oh, someone said, I wish you were my mom. She kicked me out. I am only 15. Oh, okay. Okay. I live with white parents now in Denmark. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But I just think that, just be yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because you just never know what people are going through, mentally. You have these thoughts, of, of harming yourself, and because of this label they put on you, oh, she's gay, or they're lesbian, all this, oh, they're a liar. It's just so much, you know um that comes into play. And I think when we allow people to be themselves and not be judgmental, then people can be free, and be able to, be themselves. And it is a high rate as far as that population of people. Um, I just think that, yeah, um, it's a sad thing, as far as, like, the higher the rate and things like that. And it's just sad. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why we're here to help. How could we help our community, other than creating these platforms to have discussions?
Yeah,
Um,
we have to talk like that. We need to stop pretending that it's not real, because it
yeah,
is. Like the facts are there, it's right there in our faces, and we just have to talk about it. And if you're uncomfortable, if somebody comes to you and they're unloaded and you feel uncomfortable with it, just say that. Just say, like, I'm a little uncomfortable. I don't know how to deal with this, but maybe you should call this number. Maybe you
yeah,
should go on this website, find a therapist.
yeah,
Um, if you have someone in your life who's like actively suicidal, like you really, there's a plan, they may have like access to like a weapon or pills or something like that. um the hotline is cool. But I'm gonna be real,
yeah,
like, if you that I've heard horror stories about that hotline. Because you never know who's on the other end of that phone, and you don't
yeah,
know what kind of day they're having.
yeah,
So the safest bet, I always tell people, for if you are actively suicidal, go to the emergency room.
yes, yes,
They're gonna strap you to a bed because they don't want you to hurt yourself. But I would rather
yeah,
you be strapped to a bed and
yeah,
alive than to harm yourself.
absolutely,
So it's always like, if you are actively suicidal, or if you are, maybe like someone calls you, and you might hear like them cock a gun in the background, or
yeah,
they're telling you, oh, I have these pills, like, get 911 to their house. Or if you feel comfortable driving them yourself. But the emergency room is always your best bet, because you are going to stay alive in that emergency room.
yeah, definitely. Someone said, what were y'all thoughts on Netflix show 13
Mm.
Reasons Why, in regards to how they displayed the trauma and triggers of teenagers in this day and age?
I think that show was real and it was raw, and that's what people needed to see. But that show didn't have black people in it.
Okay. I
Um,
never seen it. Like, I don't watch TV, so
I watched the first season. I maybe in the second season it was different. I only watched that first one because I felt, um personally, there were like some triggers in there that made me get to a point where I didn't want to continue watching it.
okay,
But I know in that first season it did not display struggles of black people, and I had an issue with that.
okay,
I think it was good because it got a lot of people talking, because it actually depicted a suicide, like it showed it, where someone got in a bathtub and slit their wrist, and it was graphic.
Mm,
And as hard as it was to kind of swallow and to digest that, it's real. Like this
yeah,
really happens to people. And so
yeah,
I like that the show got people talking.
yeah,
I like that it depicted, kind of going back to what I said, that like we might think kids or teens issues, they might seem silly to us because we're adults and we've lived through it. But when you
mm,
are in that, like you think back to when you were in middle and high school, like it was tough. Like think about how many times you cried because you couldn't fit in, or like you didn't
yeah,
make the team or something like
mm,
that. So I like that the show, depicted that as well. But again, my issue was the lack of not just black people, but just people of color being
okay,
represented in that show, because we face issues too. And I think, stuff like that, not
yeah,
just that show, but a lot of stuff in media, it adds to the narrative of like, oh, that's that white people stuff.
yeah,
Because we don't, why were there no people of color in that show?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm gonna have to sit back and watch that
Mhm.
and see what's what.
It's raw. It's raw for
Yeah,
anybody who hasn't seen it. It's real raw. So,
yeah, yeah. I know when I worked when well I was in pure all psych. And people that think that the nursing home or long term care facilities we have just old people. No, we got young people that are misplaced and they have a mental illness. And um we had a self mutilator where she just cut herself. And I remember her because she was my age and I was there and I was like, okay, what you doing here? Like I was still fresh in social work,
mhm.
but yeah, she used to cut herself um consistent basis. And I was like, what's on your arm? And you know, um and so we had to do, of course, like I said before, a safety plan and all these things. But I just didn't understand. In the beginning, I
Yeah.
did not
And
understand.
that's, and I'm glad you said that, because that's a lot of people. They're like, I don't understand. Like, why would you want to hurt yourself?
Yeah,
So for, like I said, so let me start from like this and then back my way up. Like I said, sometimes when people do die by suicide, what that is like a self harm that went too far.
yeah,
Sometimes that's what happened. It just went too far and they died.
yeah,
Um, but the reasoning behind self harm is, and people probably might be shocked by this, but self harm is not just cutting yourself. It's not
mhm,
just burning yourself. Binge drinking, that's self harm. Like you're hurting your liver. Like you could
yeah,
die by alcohol poisoning.
yeah,
Doing too much of a certain drug, taking drugs off the street.
yeah,
Um, maybe like extremely like rough sex and like enjoying, like there's different forms of self harm.
yeah,
But no matter what form you do it in, what happens is some people don't realize it's self harm when they're doing it. They just know, oh, I feel better when I do this. And that's what it is. It
yeah.
releases endorphins, which endorphins are the feel good chemicals. Like that's what we
Right,
call as
right,
professionals, we call them the feel good chemicals. And, going back to what I said earlier, if you're in this point where you're like, I'm just so overwhelmed with life, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to turn. Oh, but I know like grabbing this bottle makes me feel better. Or
yeah,
I know, putting this cigarette to my arm, when my skin burns, I could feel
yeah,
something. Right.
yeah,
So it's that people get so numb and lack any emotion that they just literally want to feel
yeah,
something. And so that physical pain creates a chemical, like a mental, emotional release.
yeah,
And so for people who are like, well, why would you want to hurt yourself? Like, I just don't understand. Like, that's what it is. It's less about the cutting and more about like that feeling you get afterward, that high. It's really like getting high for some
yeah,
people.
yeah. And yeah. Yeah, definitely. That was a good illustration. That's definitely, I mean, it's so many forms of that.
Hmm.
But always seek out help.
Hmm.
Always seek out help. And especially if you feel like you're on the deep end where it's like no, no return. Like I'd rather you reach out to people that you confide in. Um, yeah. It's people out here that actually genuinely care and
Hmm.
want you to live because everybody got purpose, right? Everybody has purpose. You just have to define and renew what that purpose is. So it's not the end all be all. So I just want to encourage everybody to seek out a therapist,
Hmm.
to be able to be vulnerable with and be able to talk about these feelings and the emotions and in these thoughts. that may occur in your
Yeah, and
mind.
not just having a good therapist, but having a good support system, right?
Yeah,
Because even if
yeah,
you do have, so let's say you maybe you're a person who just doesn't have access to a therapist in your area, or maybe you have one, right? But like I tell my clients, I only see you for an hour once a week. I
yeah,
need you to do right the other 6 days of the week, and you can't if you are
yeah,
in like an unhealthy environment.
yeah,
So get you some very supportive friends, like a strong support system. Because if you feel like, let's say you are somebody that's like, oh, when I have a bad day, I'm a binge drink, and you don't have people in your life that's like, hey, I've been noticing, like, every time we go out, you get like blackout drunk. Are you okay? Like,
yeah,
if you don't have
yeah.
people like that in your life, you need
Accountability.
some new friends.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Somebody that's gonna be accountable for you,
Mhm.
and be and check you on your stuff. Like, hey, listen, like you got this going on. We need to talk about this.
Right.
And I think more so the accountability, in our community, we definitely need to be more accountable for our people. And I try to do my due diligence. When I see something out of order, I be like, whoa, come on, I don't know you, but come on over here. Let's talk about that. So, you know, um, definitely a support system, and that'll keep pushing you along the way. So
Mhm.
yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. So I just want to say thank you so
You too.
much for getting on this platform with me and to discuss suicide in the Black community.
Hmm.
Definitely needed. And also, for the people, for the culture, definitely.
Hmm.
Any last words or anything you would want to say?
Find you a therapist. Find you somebody to talk to. Everybody, even if you feel like I don't have no problems, nothing wrong with me. That's even better. You
Yeah,
got somebody to update on all the good things that's happening in your life every week.
yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. Like it's so essential. Yes, so essential. But yeah, but everybody tune in next week. We're gonna have another good topic of discussion. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Yeah, tremendously. Like this is a good topic and topic of discussion. So until next time, thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next week.